I'm Diana. We are told that divorce is a clean break, a legal unbundling of assets, a redrawing of boundaries. You sign the papers, you divide the furniture, you walk away. What they don't tell you is that sometimes, the most valuable thing you walk away with isn't listed on any settlement sheet. It's a lesson. And my lesson was this. The most dangerous predator isn't the one who attacks you in an alley. It's the one who knows where you keep your keys. For 24 years, my keys, my financial security, my trust, my future, were in the hands of my husband, Stephen. Stephen, the charismatic financial advisor. Stephen, the life of the party who could talk about bond yields and baseball stats with equal passion. Stephen, who handled all the boring money stuff so I could focus on my teaching career and raising our son. When our marriage ended, it wasn't explosive. It was a slow leak, a tire going flat over a decade of quiet distance. The divorce, he insisted, should be amicable. For Noah's sake, he said. Our son was in college. Let's be adults. He proposed a simple split. He would keep his advisory firm and its future earnings. I would take the full value of our shared retirement assets, my teacher's pension, and the house. It seemed fair on the surface. More than fair. I was getting the stable assets, the guaranteed income. He was taking the risk. I wanted it over. I wanted peace. So I signed. And in doing so, I signed away the next 7 years of my life to a fight I didn't yet know existed. The peace lasted about 18 months. I was 53, planning my early retirement from teaching. I loved it, but I was tired. I dreamed of hiking the Camino de Santiago, of writing, of slow days. I logged into the online portal for my retirement rollover account. The one Stephen had set up to receive the lump sum from our joint investments. The balance should have been just over $847,000. The screen showed $46,128.17. I remember the physical sensation. Not panic at first. A cold, bottomless plunge, like an elevator cable snapping. A disconnect between eye and brain. I refreshed the page. I logged out and logged back in. The number, that pitiful, impossible number, stared back. I called the brokerage. After an hour on hold and 3 transfers, a weary-sounding service rep confirmed it. Yes, ma'am. There was a full disbursement, processed as a wire transfer 14 months ago. The funds were sent to an institution in the Cayman Islands. The authorization signatures appear to be in order. The authorization signatures. Mine and Stephen's. I had not signed anything. I called Stephen. My voice was a thin wire. Stephen. My retirement account. It's gone. A pause. Then his voice slick with concern. Gone? What do you mean gone? There must be a system error. Those platforms are always glitchy. They said it was a wire transfer. To the Caymans. They have the paperwork. Another pause, longer. The mask slipped. Diana, look. There was a liquidity issue with the firm. A temporary cash flow problem. It was a loan. I was going to replace it with interest before you even noticed. You know I'd never jeopardize your future. But he had. He had forged my signature. He had taken the money that represented my lifetime of work, my safety net, my freedom, and he had used it to plug a hole in his failing business. He had not asked. He had not informed. He had stolen. The amicable ex-husband was gone. In his place stood a stranger who had committed a perfect, premeditated financial murder. You have 30 days, I said, the wire of my voice now steel. You return every cent, or I destroy you. He sighed, a sound of profound inconvenience. Don't be dramatic, Dee. You can't destroy me. You agreed to the divorce terms. It's a civil matter. It'll take you years to sue, and by then, I'll have the money back. Just be patient. He hung up. I sat in the silent house, My house now feeling like a beautifully decorated cage. I had no savings to speak of. My teacher's pension alone wouldn't cover my bills. Retirement was a fantasy. I was financially stranded. And I had just been given a choice: to be a victim, or to become something else entirely. I went to a lawyer. A fierce, expensive divorce litigation specialist. She listened, reviewed the documents, and laid out the brutal truth. He's not wrong. It's a civil fraud case. We can sue. It will cost you $100,000 in legal fees up front. It will take 3 to 5 years. And if his business is as bad as it seems, by the time we get a judgment, there may be nothing left to collect. He could declare bankruptcy. You could win and still end up with nothing. It was the justice system's version of a moral victory. A piece of paper declaring I was right, while I lived in poverty. I thanked her, paid her consultation fee, and walked out. I knew then I could not rely on the traditional path. Stephen understood that system. He was a financial professional who moved money for a living. He could outmaneuver a lawsuit. If I wanted my money back, I had to attack not where he was strong, but where he was vulnerable. I had to move from the courtroom to the shadows where he operated. I had been a high school history teacher. My skills were research, analysis, pattern recognition, and the patience to explain complex subjects. I decided to turn those skills on my own life. I would become a forensic auditor of my own betrayal. Phase 1. The paper trail. I turned my spare room into a war room. I filed formal data subject access requests with every financial institution we'd ever touched. I requested every statement, every transaction, for the last 10 years of our marriage. Boxes arrived. I learned to read a brokerage statement like a spy decrypting a code. I cross-referenced deposits, withdrawals, transfers. I looked for anomalies, for payments to unfamiliar entities, for dips in balances that coincided with his business challenges. Phase 2. The digital footprint. Stephen was tech-savvy, but he was also arrogant. He used the same 3 passwords for everything, variations on our old dog's name and his college football number. From old laptops and shared cloud accounts, I was able to access archived emails, calendar invites, and draft business plans. I didn't hack. I pieced together a mosaic from the digital shards he'd left in our shared past. Phase 3. The human network. I reached out carefully to old mutual acquaintances. Not for sympathy, for information. A former golf buddy let slip Stephen was trying to start a fund for a can't-miss real estate deal in Costa Rica. A former client's wife, over coffee, mentioned how Stephen had unfortunately lost some of their money in a complicated offshore structure. The picture that emerged was not of a man with a temporary cash flow problem. It was of a serial grifter, a Ponzi scheme artist in a Brooks Brothers suit. My pension money wasn't loaned. It was the new investor money used to pay off old investors and fund his lavish lifestyle. The new sports car, the business trips to tropical locations. The business was a shell. Its only asset was its ability to attract new victims. And I had the evidence. Not just of my theft, but of the pattern. The forgeries. The misrepresentations to other potential investors. The potential securities fraud. I didn't go back to my lawyer. I went to a different kind of professional, one recommended by a woman in a white-collar crime survivors forum I'd found online. He was a former federal investigator, now a private consultant. For a retainer that nearly broke me, he took my boxes of evidence and my digital files. In 2 weeks, he produced a dossier. It was a chilling professional narrative of fraud, complete with timelines, financial flows, and a list of at least 6 other individuals who appeared to be unwitting investors in Stephen's schemes. You have enough here for a criminal referral to the SEC and the FBI, he said. But once you pull that trigger, it's out of your hands. It could take years, and restitution is never guaranteed. I had one card left to play before I pulled that trigger. I requested a meeting with Stephen. Not at a lawyer's office. At a bland corporate coffee shop in a city an hour away. He arrived, annoyed, projecting busy importance. Diana, I don't have time for theatrics. I told you the money is coming. I slid a single sheet of paper across the table. It was a summary page from the dossier. It listed 5 bullet points, each a concise, factual description of a fraudulent action, with dates, amounts, and the names of the other individuals involved. He read it. His face, usually so animated, went slack and gray. The color drained into his collar. "What is this?" he whispered. "It's the alternative to me walking out of here, driving to the federal building, and handing the full 300-page report, with all supporting documents, to the authorities. It's also the alternative to me sending a summarized, anonymized version to every person on this list, and to the Professional Licensing Board for Financial Advisors." He looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. His whole life, his career, his freedom, his carefully constructed image, was in that dossier. You can't. This is extortion." "No," I said, my voice quiet and level. "This is a settlement offer. You are going to make me whole. And you are going to do it in a way that proves this was a debt you are repaying, not a theft you are covering up." I laid out my terms. They were non-negotiable. 1, full restitution plus. He would return the entire $847,000. He would also pay a 20% penalty, $169,400, as compensation for the 2 years of lost growth, emotional distress, and legal costs. Total, $1,016,400. 2. The mechanism. He would not wire me the money. He would sell assets, the sports car, the vacation property, his share of the firm. He would take out a legitimate, personally guaranteed loan for the balance. The paper trail would show a man liquidating his lifestyle to fulfill a personal obligation. Free the timeline. He had 90 days. A first payment of $300,000 was due in 30 days as a show of good faith. For the silence. Upon full repayment, I would sign a legally binding release from civil liability. I would not initiate criminal proceedings, but I would keep the dossier. 1 missed payment, 1 attempt to defame or harass me, and it would be released in its entirety. "If you think I can get $1 million in 90 days, he began, his voice ragged. "You found a way to steal it in an afternoon," I said, standing up. "I suggest you find a way to earn it back. You have a talent for moving money, Stephen. Now move it back to where it belongs." I left him there, staring into his cold coffee, a ruined king. He paid. It wasn't pretty. He sold everything. The car showed up on a dealer's website. The condo in Miami went into foreclosure. I heard through the grapevine he was living in a small apartment, working as a mid-level analyst for a firm that knew nothing of his past. The glamorous life was over. The final wire hit my account on the 89th day. The full amount, plus the penalty. I had my banker verify it 3 times. I sat and watched the numbers on my screen, the correct numbers, and I wept. Not tears of joy, but of exhaustion, and of a grief for the woman I had been, who had trusted so completely. I signed the release. I did not send the dossier to the authorities. I had what I wanted. Not his incarceration, but my restoration. Prison would have given me vindication. The money gave me my future back. With it, I did exactly what I had dreamed of. I retired. I spent 6 months hiking the Camino, sleeping in hostels, feeling the sun on my face and the weight of fear finally gone from my shoulders. I wrote a memoir, not for publication but for myself, to lay the story to rest. I invested the money conservatively, and I live comfortably, quietly, and with absolute control over every dime. Stephen? He is a ghost from another life. Our son, Noah, knows a sanitized version, that there was a financial dispute that was resolved. He has a strained but civil relationship with his father. I do not badmouth Stephen to him. The empty space where trust used to be is message enough. What did I learn? I learned that forgiveness is optional, but power is not. You do not have to forgive the person who steals from you. But you must, absolutely must, reclaim your power. For anyone listening who feels that cold plunge, who sees the empty account, the broken promise, the forged signature, know this. Your greatest asset is not your money. It is your mind, your patience, your attention to detail, your righteous anger, channeled into cold, clean purpose. Do not beg. Do not just sue. Investigate. Become the world's leading expert on your own betrayal. Follow the money, find the pattern, and when you have the evidence, you do not have to scream. You simply have to present the facts and offer the thief a choice. Return what is yours, or watch the life they built on your stolen foundation crumble into dust. They made you a victim. You must choose to become a restitution officer. My name is Diana Shaw. He stole my pension, and I made him pay for it, with interest. Thank you for listening. If you want to hear more story like this, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified.